There's a lot of cool relics in Hellclock, and you can use them to make awesome builds, but some of them are rarer than others. You have the community relics. These are very powerful, but don't drop frequently. Then there are the endgame Uber relics, also extremely rare. Last but not least, you have, since it rolls 2 corrupted implicits, most of the drops will be trash, but occasionally you get pure gold. Beyond that, you might need some soul stones to level up your relics, or lots of tools to craft them. And so in today's video, I'm going to teach you how I farmed my relics, tools, and soul stones in Hellclock. Before you do a single farming run, there's a couple things that you should do to maximize your returns. The first of which is go to the Oblivion Bell and spec into nodes that give you more resources. So, there are soulstone gain nodes located along the upper half, here, here, and here, for a grand total of 45% increased soulstone drops. While you're here, you can also get plus 25 relic chance. Down here, there's trinkets, which is not particularly useful as these are not permanent items, and blessed gear. So if you're looking for a gun instead of a relic, spec into this node. Now, while it doesn't directly affect your farming, you should also take the gold nodes. The more gold you have, the more you can use it to reroll. And yes, you should also reduce the blessing redraw cost. This allows you to cycle through things more efficiently to get what you want. And you might as well pick up EXP while you're at it, because more EXP means more character power, and more character power means you need to spend less of your gold on Blessing of Foundation as you're breezing through the levels. If you have spare affixes on your relics, you can also roll things like soulstone gain, gold gain, bonus relic drop chance, and experience. This isn't required, and if you're just starting out, you might not be able to. However, the most important factor is your constellations, because these determine which relics you're going to see more frequently as drops. Relics are divided into 3 broad categories: Fury, Discipline, and Faith. So, to use an example here, Teriri's Law is a Fury relic. No, that's not because of the symbol top right. This symbol top right shows the imbuement. If you want to know the affinities of the relic or relics you're going to be farming for, head over to Maxwell, check out my guide, it'll be linked down below. Now by default, the affinity system gives you a 100% drop chance bonus to whatever is your highest devotion, which means right now, I have that bonus for Fury, since at 18, it's my highest. You need a minimum of 4 devotion points before this bonus kicks in. So, if I unspec all my constellations, and I just put 1 point here into Discipline, Discipline is my highest, but I get no bonus. I would need to put these points in here. Now I have 4 Discipline, so the bonus is enabled. Additionally, the bonus is increased by 10% for each point past 4. So because I have 18 here, I'm not just getting the 100%, I'm also getting an additional 140, meaning it's roughly 3 times more likely that I will encounter a Fury relic as opposed to a Discipline or Faith relic. All of this means that if you want to fully min-max your farming, you want as much of one devotion as possible, and because some relics only drop after you reach specific devotion thresholds, you don't get Broken Mirror, for example, without 10 Discipline, you might actually want to end up slightly below that requirement, i.e. here I'm now at 5 Discipline, so Broken Mirror is removed from my drop pool. But of course, you do need to find a balance between maximizing your farming and making a functional build that can kill enemies, which is where part 2 of farming comes in. That being that, for the most part, you don't want to farm on the highest difficulty possible. You want to farm on a difficulty where you can complete it quickly and easily. So if I kill everything in tier 16 instantaneously, I can farm on it. But if it's going to take me 20-30 minutes to clear tier 16, but I can just breeze through tier 12 and kill everything instantly, or even breeze through tier 8 and kill everything instantly, I should do that instead. There is a higher chance to get tier 4 relics on higher difficulties. As you can see, it goes to 20% with Oblivion. It does not change with Void, but ultimately that's not going to outweigh simply running the zones faster. Especially because you want to do this without picking up Blessings of Foundation. So even if you just go into Act 1 Oblivion, that's actually a pretty good place to farm, because it doesn't take that much damage, so even if your build isn't optimized, you should be able to kill things quickly and easily. If you're going to do this, I highly recommend either killing things with Ignite and using Tereri's Law, or taking the Sao Longwen-Ho Constellation. That way, loot is automatically attracted to your character, so you can spend less time fighting enemies and more time running past. As you do, your goal should be to kill magic and rare enemies, even if this means stopping for a moment, while also completing the zone as quickly as possible. And normally, you'd be using your gold right about now to roll Blessing of Foundation, because that provides a significant boost in power. When farming, unless you absolutely need it, you should avoid this. That gold could be used for something more important. Here's the Jailer and Dead Jailer. So, I have 2,914 gold. I can use that to redraw the blessings on offer. This gives me more chances to get whatever relics that I want. So from here, I'd speed through Act 1, use my gold to reroll for the relics that I want, then once I reach the end, do it all over again. By the way, if you're finding this useful, want to see more Hellclock content, or just think the build I'm playing looks sick and want to know more, get subscribed, I'll be talking about it soon, and I make a lot of videos. Also, leave a like while you're down there, it really helps out with the YouTube algorithm. So now, let's jump ahead to that Floor 21 boss. Gonna dot it up, and it's dead. As usual, I get a relic reward. Let's say I don't want any of these. I want an Uber relic. I can reroll, and I can keep using rerolls, burning a whole bunch of gold that I've saved up over the entire run, in hopes of getting one. Because Uber and community relics are rare, you're not guaranteed to get one, even if you burn 15,000 gold like I did. The cost ramps up pretty significantly. But you can certainly do this to give yourself the best chance possible of farming relics, and more common stuff like Powder Bag, you're going to get pretty quickly. Next up, Nightmare Relics. You farm for these using a similar method to normal uniques. Entering a run, killing as much as you can, while also going through quickly, and then using your gold on rerolls until you get what you want. There's two differences. The first of which is that you're actually looking for nightmare portals, which are purple, as opposed to bosses. The second is you need the Journey of Nightmares active on your save file before these portals can appear, and you can get the relics within. Any save file made after 2.0 has it on by default, but if you haven't made a new save file, you're going to have to do that. Like before, remember to skip Blessings of Foundation unless you absolutely need the extra power. If you're able to move past enemies and kill them quickly as you do, spending that gold is just lost rerolls. Here we go, a Nightmare Portal. Ignore all the scary affixes, I swear, it's full of loot. After entering the Nightmare Portal, kill all of the enemies you find. They'll be highlighted in red, which makes them easy to spot. You want to do this to fill the bar on the right and spawn the boss, because that's where the unique relic you're after is going to come from. Here we go, killing a bunch of these guys. Bar is nearly full. Need one more pack. There we go. Boss is spawning. Now I'm just going to kill that real quick. Boss is dead. And here are the relics. But maybe I don't want any of these. Maybe I want Plague Bullets. So I'm going to redraw. Well, I got Goat's Eye. That's pretty good. Still not Plague Bullets, though. I'm going to try again. And again. And there we go. I rolled Plague Bullets, which is exactly what I wanted in this hypothetical situation. As a tip, while you're farming for unique relics, keep an eye out for Blessing of the Future. This can contain gear or rare relics which might be useful to you. You shouldn't spend too much time or gold on these if your main goal is farming for a unique relic, but it's worth checking because sometimes they have nice stuff. Now, things are a little different when you're farming Endless Nightmares, mostly because you get better offerings from your Shards of Hope in some of the higher tiers. That said, there is no reason to farm tier 16 unless your build can breeze through it just as quickly as you complete tier 12. Better loot is nice and all, but speed is king. So when you start, you'll be offered Shards of Place. Now, there's a Shards of Place modifier you should look out for, that being double boss. This is particularly useful if you're looking for unique relics. There's also one that you should look to avoid. That being, you are offered one less blessing choice, because remember, the relic rewards that you are offered do count as blessings. Provided you are farming where your build is strong enough, you can ignore every other modifier in Shards of Place. Next up is Shards of Hope. These are the rewards. Which ones you take depends on what reward you're going for. So, For example, Blessing of a Future Price is really good if you want to fish for rare relics. Bonus tool drop chance is really good for, well, tools. Scavenger spawns give gold. Just going to redraw this here. Bonus drop quantity, that's a generic one. Chance of rare and magic relics, that's good if there's a specific rare relic affix you're looking for. You can get guaranteed drops for corrupted and divine tools from bosses. There's things like gold gain as well, and even soulstone gain. In short, you should target the Shards of Hope affixes that you're looking for. Now you'll note I haven't really talked about the chance of corrupted relics or the imbuement stuff. Technically, there's a chance you'll random yourself into something good here. Most of the time, it's not particularly worth it. After picking the Shards of Hope, though, there's the Shards of Fear. And just like how the Shards of Hope has positive modifiers, Shards of Fear has negative, which can include penalties to soul stones, drop chances, and gold gain, all three of which make it harder to farm. So try to avoid those, or at the very least, pick one that doesn't impact you. If you have hundreds of thousands of soul stones, losing some isn't going to matter that much. So once again, I'm going to go in and I'm going to start killing things as quickly as possible. Because I have Tereres, I don't have to worry about standing around watching things die. I can kill things and the loot will automatically be attracted. Even without Tereres, the same thing does happen from chests. Just don't open a chest and immediately move to the next level before the sequence completes. And just like before, I'm not going to take Blessing of Foundation unless I absolutely have to. Now, the first tier, it only costs 600 gold, the next one's 1200. If you can get away with a couple of lower tier blessings, that's totally fine. But if you don't need them, that is more gold to spend on rerolls. Now, this next part is personal preference. But if possible, I like to skip floors 3, 10, and 17. Yes, floor 3 is a survival wave. And that means a guaranteed boss, which I could reroll or could give me a relic drop. The thing is, the survival wave takes a while to complete, and especially if my character already has high movement speed, or a movement skill with no cooldown like this setup does, then it's actually a time loss while clearing the entire wave. I'd be better off clearing other levels and fighting more bosses. That said, there's not always going to be a red portal to skip the level, so don't worry about it too much. Now here I have a Blessing of a Future, which I could use to get valuable rare relics, and occasionally a unique. If I was playing Fator's Lash, this punishing large relic would be quite good. In general, it's better to get small and large relics as opposed to grand and exalted. Also, tier 4 is better than 3, so unless I was specifically playing an old Bell build, I'd be better off taking the tier 4 retaliating large relic as opposed to a tier 3 colossal small. Of course, like with unique relics, the cost does ramp up pretty quickly. The next reroll is going to be about 2,000 gold, and it only gets more expensive from there. So do be careful and don't end up in a situation where you spend so much on rerolls that you can't afford the relic. I'm going to go ahead and grab this brawler one because melee skill damage is really useful. And of course, just like before in Act 1, all I'm really doing is going through the levels quickly and efficiently. In this case, I'm going to take this red portal right to the boss, kill it quickly, and then reroll to try to get something interesting. Again, the cost ramps up, so don't worry too much about min-maxing this. It's not like you need 50,000 gold per run to be viable. Focus on clearing, using your rerolls when you get them, then starting a new run after you clear floor 21. Now, there are a couple more things that I wanted to talk about quickly when it comes to farming. The first is rare relics. They have a lot of different random affixes, and it can be hard to get the large or small relics with the stuff that you want. Now, for the most part, it is very hard to roll good small rare relics, because a lot of the best affixes simply don't roll when crafted with a greater tool of enhancement. Luckily, they do tend to roll on large relics. So, one of the things that you can do to increase your odds of getting something good is collect a bunch of large relics, just clear do runs normally, then use all of your tools of greater enhancement on them. You'll see that quite quickly, while not everything can roll here, I'm getting a good number of valuable affixes. We've got a Jaguar Spear mod, Double Knives mod, Bleeding Damage mod, Repeater Damage mod, that one's really good for Plague Repeater, Evade Counter-Strike, Spells deal damage against stunned and shocked. That's a pretty good generic one. All sorts of good modifiers. In fact, there's more good rolls than bad rolls when it comes to large relics. Something else you can do is reroll the shop. And my experience is that rerolling the shop is pretty good for gear and pretty bad for relics. Yes, occasionally you will get something good, but getting something good is exceedingly rare from a shop. The cost starts at 100, it ramps up by 100 every time. You need to reset that by either relogging or starting a new run. So that's how I've been farming for the last 100 or so hours in Hellclock 2.0. Couple things to keep in mind. 1, if you can fit Teriri's Law or Sao Longwoodho into your build, so you have a way to attract loot and you don't have to wait around for enemies to die, that's really good. Also, if you can get a movement skill with either a very low cooldown or no cooldown, such as Shadow Dash or Karkara Dive, that's a really good way to boost your farming speed. Alternatively, you can just stack a bunch of move speed and gotta go fast Sonic style. Now in terms of damage, the more automated the better. Things like minions, ignite, skyhammer, anything that you can automate is good, because again, you don't want to have to stop to kill enemies. You want to keep moving. Really, farming is just a game of numbers. The more runs that you can do, the more effective your farming is going to be. Yes, you can use affinities and devotions to increase the odds of what you're getting. You can also use things like magic find stats to get more loot overall. But if you're taking 30 minutes per run, someone who isn't doing all of those things as optimally, but only takes 5 to 10 minutes per run, they're going to get the stuff they want a lot sooner than you do. So it's far more important to focus on the speed side than optimizing or min-maxing the drop side of things. That said, when possible, you should do both. And you should also try to farm in content that's easy enough that you can do that. Which, speaking of, if you want to see more about my build, the really fast one with meteors dropping, video coming out soon, get subscribed. As one last tip, there's a couple of relics that are actually easier to find at the start of a game. Plague Bullets is a good example of this. It's available from Nightmare bosses in Act 1. So, if you start a new game, you uncheck all skills mode, and you look for a Nightmare portal, you will have much better odds, meaning you have to use less rerolls or clear less portals to get that as a drop. For the most part, a lot of the relics that you're going to be farming in endgame either have devotion requirements, they require skills from later acts, thus requiring you to clear those later acts, or you need all skills mode on if you want them to drop. So this isn't particularly useful, it's more niche knowledge that is sometimes very helpful. On the other hand, if you want to learn more about farming in Hellclock, I've got a guide over on Maxwell, goes over most of the stuff in this video as well, but it's a little bit more generic as opposed to the personalized approach that I've taken here. That'll be linked down below. In addition, if you're looking for a build, I've played several. I have both leveling builds that you can use from Act 1, and also endgame builds, which you're going to need a bit of gear, but they're pretty awesome once they get going. That'll also be linked down below. For now, thank you very much for watching to the end. I'm glad you've enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.